Officer Donnelly thought this would be easy. Just a loud teenager with no lawyer. He didn't expect her to build a case so strong it would tear his career apart right there in front of everyone. The courtroom wasn't exactly silent. You could hear an old fan spinning in the corner, the scratch of a clerk's pen, chairs creaking. But when Arielle Manning walked in, it felt like the whole room froze. She wasn't dressed fancy, just a navy blazer, khaki pants, and flats. The kind of outfit you'd wear to a school debate or Sunday service. But she wore it like armor. Her hair was tied back in a neat bun, glasses low on her nose. She looked calm, in control, like she already knew how this would end, while everyone else was still guessing. She sat down at the defense table. No lawyer beside her, just Arielle, 17 years old, facing charges for stopping an officer. Alone, Officer Rick Donnelly chuckled. It wasn't loud, but the bailiff still glanced over. A little smirk tugged at his mouth, like he was watching a show he'd seen before and knew how it ended. Judge Raymond Keyes looked up. "Miss Manning, you're representing yourself today?" "Yes, Your Honor," she said, voice steady, clear. Not even a hint of fear. Donnelly leaned back at the prosecutor's table, arms crossed. "This won't take long," he mumbled. Arielle didn't react. To the rest of the people there, it looked simple. A teenage girl from the east side of Phoenix trying to act smart. Just another easy case, another file on the stack. But what no one knew yet was that Arielle Manning had spent the last 4 weeks working like her life depended on it. Because it did. She scanned the room, stopping for a second when her eyes found her mother in the back row. Her mom didn't smile. She hardly breathed. Arielle gave her a tiny nod, not to comfort her, but to show she was ready. The bailiff called it out. The state of Arizona versus Arielle Elise Manning. 1 count of obstructing justice. 1 count of interfering with police work. Arielle stood. "Ready, Your Honor." Judge Keyes flipped through the file. "Miss Manning, I've read the charges. You gave up your right to a lawyer. I must warn you, this isn't traffic court. You'll be held to the same rules as any licensed attorney." "I understand, Your Honor." Donnelly shook his head like he couldn't believe this was happening. A teenage girl quoting laws, defending herself. To him, it was a joke. But here's what he didn't know. Arielle hadn't wasted a second since her arrest. She hadn't been out partying or skipping school. She hadn't been online complaining about how unfair life was. She'd been studying, reading, watching court videos on public record sites, calling legal aid hotlines under a fake name, listening to real lawyers explain how to break down a case. Most important of all, she'd been replaying the video she recorded on her cracked phone, over and over again, that day outside Roosevelt High. She hadn't filmed to get internet fame. She filmed to protect someone. Her classmate, D'Angelo, had been slammed face first into a fence during a fight about a broken locker. Donnelly showed up, yelling. When Arielle stepped in, no touching, no threats, just asking what he was doing. She got handcuffed, shoved in a cruiser, and charged with blocking an officer. The video didn't lie. Back then, no one cared. Now it was proof, but that was for later. Right now, Arielle adjusted her glasses, pulled out a neat stack of papers, and placed them on the table. Donnelly looked bored. She looked ready. Arrogance can crumble under the weight of the truth, and the truth was about to make this whole room pay attention. It all started on a Tuesday, hot and dry, the kind of Arizona heat that makes fences feel like ovens. School had just ended. Arielle was standing near South 13th Avenue and West Adams Street, half listening to music, half texting about a group project. Then she heard it. Angry voices, a small crowd gathering. She slipped her phone in her pocket and walked toward the noise. D'Angelo Ruiz, a junior known for being loud but harmless, was arguing with a school security guard about a broken locker. Someone blamed him. But it wasn't D'Angelo shouting, it was the adult. Then Officer Donnelly arrived. He wasn't school security. He was Phoenix PD, assigned there because of a recent rise in petty crime. Everyone knew him. Big shoulders. Sunglasses always nearby. Always ready for trouble. Arielle had seen him before, seen how he talked to kids. Not like people, but like problems. He didn't even ask questions. He stormed up, grabbed D'Angelo's arm. The boy pulled back on instinct. No punches, no threats, just fear. That was enough for Donnelly to slam him against the fence. Arielle froze for half a second. Then she pulled out her phone. "You can't do that," she said. "He didn't do anything." Donnelly looked at her like she was gum stuck to his shoe. "Back up." He barked. "Now I'm recording this." Arielle spoke up, her voice steady but loud enough so every student nearby could hear. "You didn't even ask what happened." "Oh, you want to interfere?" Donnelly said, letting go of D'Angelo and stepping right up to her. "You want it on this?" Arielle didn't back away. "You can't use force without a reason. I know my rights." "Your rights?" He mocked her, repeating her words in sneer. "How about you learn what happens next?" Before she could respond, he shoved her against a patrol car, twisted her arms behind her back, and snatched her phone away. "You can't," she started to say, but the handcuffs were already snapping shut. "Obstruction," he said loudly enough for his body cam to catch every word. She interfered with police work. Students gasped. Some grabbed their own phones to record, but it was too late. By the time Arielle's mom arrived at the station, her daughter had been fingerprinted, booked, and told she'd stand before a judge. The days that came after were quiet, heavy. No lawyer would take the case for free. Public defenders were swamped. Her mom pulled extra shifts at the VA hospital, but couldn't afford a private attorney. So Arielle took matters into her own hands. She remembered her aunt's old advice. If you want someone to listen, first learn how they speak. That night, she watched 4 hours of courtroom clips on YouTube. The next night, 6. She wrote down words she didn't know and looked them up. She printed out the police report, studied it line by line, and marked every lie. She called her cousin's girlfriend, a paralegal up in Flagstaff. They weren't close, but when she heard what happened, she sent Arielle a list of links. Free legal codes, public case records, video guides. It was like lighting a match in a room full of fuel. Arielle didn't just read the law. She memorized it. She learned what judges expect from people who represent themselves. She found stories of other teens who fought charges and won. She even practiced her opening speech in front of a mirror, recording herself on a borrowed tablet to check her posture and voice. School faded into the background. Teachers emailed her. Some offered help, some stayed silent. One teacher, Mr. Kirkwood, her history teacher, noticed. "You're not giving up, are you?" he asked one afternoon when she stayed late after class. "No," she said. "I'm getting ready." But the thing about getting ready is people never see it, not until the spotlight turns on them. Then they wonder how you were invisible all that time. Arielle didn't prepare like someone hoping to win. She prepared like someone who had no other choice. Every morning before sunrise, she cleared off the kitchen table and opened her thick binder, now 3 inches deep with printed laws, handwritten notes, bright sticky tabs, and pages of court transcripts she'd found online. She color-coded everything. Yellow for key points, blue for contradictions, red for Donnelly's lies. She'd watch her own arrest video more than 30 times, breaking it down frame by frame. The second Donnelly grabbed D'Angelo. When she spoke up, when her hands were clearly empty, she never cried. Her mom, Patrice, begged her to take a plea deal. "We can't risk this, baby," she whispered one night over leftover casserole. "They have the badge. They have the judge. You don't win in places like that." Arielle didn't answer right away. She chewed, swallowed, pushed her plate aside. "I'm not trying to win, Mama. I'm trying to show them I'm not afraid." That calm answer shook Patrice more than yelling ever could. Later that night, Arielle sat alone in her room, a borrowed laptop on her bed. The screen glowed while the cursor blinked on a document titled Opening Statement, Draft 4. Each time she read it aloud, she caught something fixed, a word too soft, a sentence too angry, a part that didn't feel like her. She didn't want to sound mad. Anger gets loud. Anger makes people stop listening. She wanted to sound calm, because it scares people more when a girl like her stays calm while tearing down a lie. One afternoon, she called the legal aid hotline again. This time she asked for someone who knew about excessive force cases. The woman on the line sounded tired but kind. "Are you filing a complaint or fighting charges?" she asked. "Both," Arielle said. "Kind of." "Okay, do you have a lawyer?" "I am my lawyer." There was a pause, then a quiet laugh. Well, damn. Okay, what's your name? Arielle paused, then gave it for the first time. For the next half hour, the woman, Jeanette, went through the report with her. She pointed out which laws the DA would use, warned her how judges usually see teens without lawyers. Don't try to sound smart, Jeanette said. Sound sure. That line stuck with Arielle. She wrote it on a sticky note and stuck it on top of her binder. Don't try to sound smart. Try to sound sure. In every spare minute, she practiced in front of mirrors, in front of her mom, once, even in front of two kids from her street who normally just played video games on her porch. What if the judge cuts you off? One of them asked. Then I wait, she said, and when he's done, I make sure he hears me anyway. Mr. Kirkwood offered to testify as a character witness. Her cousin's girlfriend sent her a PDF on how to plan cross-examinations. Arielle took it all in, turning fear into fuel. Even the school janitor, Mr. Leroux, who hardly spoke more than a few words most days, quietly handed Arielle an old legal dictionary from his night classes back in 2002. People started to root for her, not because she begged for help, but because she never asked for pity. They saw how serious she was. But Donnelly didn't see it. He still thought this would be easy, a short trial, a teenager with no training and no law degree. He figured he'd throw around a few fancy words and walk out untouched. He didn't know that the girl sitting across from him had prepared harder than some real lawyers he'd face in court. But belief cracks when it collides with the truth, especially when the truth has a microphone, and Arielle was ready to use hers. The courtroom looked different the second time around. This wasn't a simple arraignment. This was the real trial. Same judge, same creaky ceiling fan, but now the benches were more crowded. A few teachers from Roosevelt High showed up. D'Angelo sat near the front with his mother at his side. And in the back corner, pen ready, sat a reporter from the Arizona Daily Sunday someone had tipped her off, a teenager defending herself against a cop. Arielle stood as Judge Keyes walked in. Be seated, he said, adjusting his glasses. The bailiff looked back and forth between Arielle and Donnelly. State of Arizona versus Arielle Manning. Trial in session. The prosecutor went first. Her opening was dull. She painted Arielle as a loud, rude teen who made an already tense situation worse. Donnelly sat behind her, arms folded, smirking like this was nothing but another day on the job. Then it was Arielle's turn. She stepped to the center, notes in hand, but she didn't read them. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the court, she said, looking each person straight in the eye. I'm not a lawyer. I won't pretend to be. But I know what I saw, and more importantly, I know what I lived. I'll let the facts do the talking. She returned to her seat. Simple, clear, not passive. The judge nodded, a hint of approval on his face. Next came the witnesses. The prosecutor called Donnelly first. He climbed into the witness chair like he'd done this 100 times. Officer Donnelly, the prosecutor began, can you tell us what happened that day, September 12th? Yes, he said smoothly. I got to Roosevelt High after a report about an aggressive student. By the time I got there, things were heated. I restrained the student for safety, and this young woman started yelling, getting in the way. Arielle quietly took notes. When the prosecutor was done, the judge turned to her. Your witness. Arielle stood. Her heart was steady. Officer Donnelly, how long have you been with Phoenix PD? 17 years. And in those 17 years, how many times have you arrested a student for obstruction without a physical fight? He lifted an eyebrow. Several. Depend on the threat. Was I a threat to you, sir? You were yelling. I couldn't focus on the situation. I was 12 feet away, wasn't I? He paused. Roughly. You didn't ask me to leave. You told me to back up. Is that your usual protocol? She didn't wait for him to answer. And is grabbing a student by the neck standard procedure? Objection, the prosecutor cut in. Assumes facts not in evidence. Sustained, said the judge. Arielle took a calm breath. No further questions right now, Your Honor. She walked back to her table, composed. The prosecutor called two more people. A security guard who barely remembered seeing Arielle filming, and a student who said they weren't really paying attention. Then it was Arielle's turn. She called Mr. Kirkwood first. He described her as bright, focused, never a troublemaker. She's the kid other kids ask for help with homework, he said. You don't expect a student like that to act recklessly. Then came D'Angelo. He sat nervously, but spoke honestly. She was trying to help me, he said. She didn't touch anybody. She just asked what was happening. Did she threaten Officer Donnelly? Arielle asked. No. Did she get physical? No. She just had her phone out. That's it. Arielle turned to the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to submit a video file into evidence from my phone recorded at the scene. The judge agreed. The video played for everyone. The audio cracked a bit, but you could hear Donnelly shouting. See him shove D'Angelo. Hear Arielle's voice. Not screaming, not threatening, just asking, "What are you doing?" When Donnelly grabbed her, the camera angle shifted, but the audio stayed clear. Gasps echoed through the room. Arielle didn't watch the screen. She watched Donnelly. For the first time, his smug look faded. And the thing about the truth is, once it's out, it doesn't crawl back into the shadows quietly. The silence after the video ended was thick. Even the judge leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled, eyes locked on Donnelly. He cleared his throat. Officer, do you want to respond to what we just saw? Donnelly shifted in his seat. The video doesn't show everything, Your Honor. You can't see my exact view. She was provoking a dangerous scene. Arielle stood. Objection. That's an opinion, not a fact. The judge nodded. Sustained. Officer, stick to the facts. Donnelly tried again. I felt her behavior was threatening. Arielle didn't get angry. She looked ready. She stepped forward for more questions. In your report you wrote, and I quote, "The subject approached aggressively, yelling and ignored commands." True. Yes. But in the video, my voice is calm. I'm standing still. I never moved closer to you. Correct. Videos can be misleading. I agree. That's why I submitted a frame-by-frame timestamp. Here, she held up a screenshot. This frame shows where I was. 5 seconds later, same spot. No movement. Just standing. She paused, her eyes locked on him. Would you like to challenge these timestamps, Officer Donnelly? The room was silent. I'm not a video expert, he said quietly. That's fine. I had this reviewed by a digital analyst at Northern Arizona University. She's ready to testify if needed. The prosecutor quickly jumped in. Your Honor. Arielle didn't flinch. I'm well within my rights. Arielle said, I listed that witness 2 days ago. Judge Keyes lifted his hand slightly. She did. It's in the file. Arielle sat down slowly, calm, like someone who just moved a chess piece and already knew the next 5 moves on the board. The analyst took the stand and confirmed the video was real. No edits, no cuts, no hidden angles. Arielle hadn't moved an inch when Donnelly claimed she rushed him. Now his story started to fall apart. Then Arielle made one last move. Your Honor, I asked the court to look at past complaints against Officer Donnelly. 3 in the last 5 years. 1 from a parent at Dunbar Elementary, 1 from a gas station clerk, and 1 from a man he pulled over last November. The judge raised an eyebrow. You're talking about public records? Yes, sir. All filed. All open to the public under a Freedom of Information request. None were prosecuted, but they exist. The prosecutor jumped up. Your Honor, those are just accusations, nothing proven. Arielle turned to the whole room. I'm not saying he's guilty of those. I'm saying there's a pattern of using too much force, of shutting people up who question him. I'm not the first. I'm just the first with Binder. A quiet murmur rolled through the courtroom. It wasn't loud, but you could feel it. Donnelly looked like a man realizing this room wasn't his anymore. The judge called for a short break. When they came back, his tone was different, more careful, more serious. I've reviewed the footage and testimony. Judge Keyes said, Miss Manning, your evidence, your questions, and the context you provided create reasonable doubt. The prosecutor sat frozen, her lips tight. Therefore, he continued, the charge of obstruction is dismissed. Arielle didn't react at first. No smile, no fist pump. She just stared ahead, as if her body needed a second to catch up to the words. I will also submit a formal request to review Officer Donnelly's conduct, including these past complaints and his actions in this case. That's when she finally let out a quiet breath. No cheers, no clapping, just a simple exhale, like setting down something too heavy to carry any longer. But freedom is never the end. It's the part where people look at you and ask, how did you carry all that weight alone? When Arielle stepped out into the sun, it felt different, not poetic, just bright and sharp, clearer than she remembered. Her mother stood at the bottom of the courthouse steps, arms crossed so tight it looked like she was holding a storm. Neither of them said anything at first. Then they hugged, not the kind of hug that lasts forever, but the kind that says we did it. Now breathe. D'Angelo and his mom walked up. You were amazing in there, he whispered. I didn't even know you could do all that. I didn't either, Arielle said. Not until I had to. A reporter from the Daily Sun hovered close, notebook ready, but Arielle shook her head. Not today. Not yet. Over the next week, the story spread. Not viral, not on every front page, but enough. The headline called to the teen who stood up alone and made the court listen. There were opinion pieces. The school board started talking about cops on campus. Calls came to her house. College program offers, mock trial scholarships, mentorships from black lawyers all over the state. But Arielle didn't care about fame. She cared about that video. The one they once said didn't matter. It was now part of an official complaint. Donnelly had been put on leave. Internal Affairs opened a review. Some people defended him. They always do. He was just doing his job. She should have stayed quiet. Why record everything? But for every voice like that, there were two more saying she stood her ground. She knew the law better than they did. She made them listen. At Roosevelt High, kids asked sharper questions in class. Teachers noticed. Some leaned in to help. Others stayed silent. But the atmosphere had changed. One afternoon, Mr. Kirkwood called her in after school. I pulled a few strings, he said, pushing a folder across his desk. It's a summer program at Arizona State. Law workshops, mentors, mock trials. They take 20 students, and I already sent your name. Arielle opened it, skimmed the application. She didn't cry. She didn't squeal. She just nodded once. What made you really do all this? Mr. Kirkwood asked. She thought for a second. It wasn't just for me. It was to make sure the next kid like me doesn't have to pick between staying silent or getting handcuffed. He leaned back, smiling. I think you've got more than just a binder now. For the first time in weeks, Arielle laughed. That night, she sat at the kitchen table again. No legal notes this time. Just a blank sheet of paper. At the top, she wrote one line. They thought I came to defend myself, but I came to show the truth. She didn't know what came next. But for the first time, she got to decide on her own terms. Because this wasn't just a story about a girl beating a charge. It was about what happens when you prepare in silence, speak with clarity, and refuse to be pushed aside. Arielle Manning never asked for a fight, but when it came, she didn't back down. She learned. She stood tall. She proved that courage doesn't always wear a suit or hold a title. Sometimes it's just a teenager with a binder, a phone, and the guts to say, this isn't right. Because real justice doesn't always trickle down from the top. Sometimes it starts with someone no one expected.